Out of every single person that you should be listening to or thing that you should be listening to, it's your higher self connection that should be your top priority. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Eleanor, and I'm an intuitive empath that has been challenged by someone to do 365 days on YouTube and tell my story, my beliefs, emotions, all of the things, right? Just to share it all out. I've been on this spiritual journey for 27 years now, and there's a lot of stuff that I've experienced, lots of miracles and magic and all the things. And so I'm just sharing my story and jumping on because I know that there's a lot of people spiritually waking up at the moment. And right now, they need some sort of validation. And if that's you, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. I will be on here every single day this year and just supporting anyone that is going, what on earth is going on? I've got all this weird stuff happening, or I'm not quite listening to it and I'm not actually following through, but I'm getting this nudge that I should be. So if that's you, then welcome. I'm really looking forward to supporting you through your journey. And I've just finished my coaching call. Today for me is Wednesday, so Wednesday morning. And every Wednesday morning we do in our Conscious Creator Circle chats and connections. After doing a process yesterday, we talk about it and we pull it apart and move into the space of reflecting on how does that affect me, and moving through the pieces and being self-sovereign, right? And taking ownership of where you're at in your journey. And we had a conversation. Yesterday we were talking about responsibility and the word responsibility. And where did that land for everyone, right? So some of the clients found that they went straight into feeling responsible for all the people in their life and all the responsibilities of their business and all of the responsibilities external, whereas others were feeling that self-responsibility and the weight that's tethered to that when we're in codependent relationships with others instead of being in an interdependent relationship. So we were having a discussion about that, and one of my clients went down what I call a mangy rabbit hole, right? Where she ended up, feeling into the whole false matrix and the illusion that we're in. So let me back up a little bit for those that might not be aware or still trying to work out what that is or never heard of that sort of terminology before. Just like The Matrix, the movie, right? That movie should be considered a documentary because technically we are living in a, an illusion, almost like in a game, right? Like all the movies, believe it or not, all the movies have got some form of truth to them. Now, before I lose you, right, and you think that I'm some wacko on YouTube and you don't want to listen anymore, we as a soul come down into what we call earth to experience ourselves as an individual, to feel separate, so that we are experiencing ourselves as broken and needing fixing as the system, as the way the system works. And so through that process, our whole development, our whole spiritual and personal development through our lifetime is all about finding our consciousness and recognizing ourselves as the light, as the creator, as a being that's self-sovereign. And so we come in with things that we find and we call them challenges, right? Or pain points or traumas or whatever language you want to put around it, that make us feel like we're broken in some way, that we don't belong, that we're not adequate enough, that we're not worthy of life in general, or we're not deserving of love and we feel neglected, and all of these things that happen to us, so that we can correct those thoughts, those beliefs, those limitations, those limiting beliefs that hold us in a container of separation, of the illusion, right? Which is holding us in this little shell instead of exploding into the light that we are, where we know that we are more than just this body. So that's the illusion, that we are in some sort of separate container, and that our vessel is all there is. And so through that process, we are discovering more and more of who we are. If you are on the journey, because there are a lot of people that don't have the level of consciousness to even reflect on that. If you're here, you're reflecting on, who am I and what am I here for? You're here to express and become more light. You're here to live at an elevated level, to see that you've got way more potential than what you actually are experiencing right now. We all have. And so through this conversation with this client this morning, she went down this thing into, who can I trust? And it was all about self-trust. And so I took her through a journey of, when we have everything external to us, and that's how we've been brought up, right? From the moment we are born, that's how the matrix works. We're born into this body, and as soon as we have that umbilical cord cut, we now have breath, even before the umbilical cord, but we breathe for the first time air into our lungs. And now we've got to rely on our air external. We also have to have warmth external to ourselves, right? We need clothes on. We need love. We need nurturing. We need support. We need someone to feed us. We need external sources as soon as we come into this world. So we build in, our system works is that over the first couple of years, we recognize ourselves as in duality. This is me and that's my mum, or that's my dad, or there's my caretaker, or there's whoever, right? We see ourselves as separate. And so we just naturally flow into the space of being influenced by our external environment. And we go into the place, we unconsciously live in the place of looking for validation external to us from other people outside of ourselves. And now it becomes a natural habit, and our unconscious wires our neural pathways together so that we are influenced by the external world. What's really important is that you build up a relationship with your inner world, with your intuition, with your higher self. Now, I want to play around with language here, because even the very subject or the topic that I've written here can be, people go, well, what about God, right? In my opinion, my understanding and my experience, not just an intellectual thing, but from an experiential place. And this is a story for, future episodes, but I've had direct relationship with God, Jesus, with this higher consciousness. Now, we could call it God, we could call it what I call superconscious, we could call it we could call it higher self, we could call it all that is. There's so many, we could call it the light. There's so many different words for this consciousness that we are, this intelligence that we are all swimming in and part of. So whatever your language is okay, right? So that connection is vital. It is really important that you build this relationship here first and this second. This relationship with others in the world is a secondary relationship. The reason being is because others in the world are also separate and also have their brokenness and their limitations and their traumas and all of those things. And their perspective is coming from that brokenness. They do not have the full view, the full capacity to give you an accurate statement, definition, label, knowledge, wisdom for what is exactly right for you to do in your life. So even going to a psychic or, seeing someone like me, for example, as an intuitive empath, I can give you a certain amount of information that I can see and feel in the field, and I interpret that. However, without you building that relationship with your higher self, with your intuitive nature, you will be reliant on someone like me or something external to yourself that is coming from my own interpretation of what I'm experiencing of the light. And so it's extremely important, and especially in this consciousness at the moment, the timeline we're in at the moment, we are, as a collective, we're moving from third dimension and fourth dimension into fifth dimension. So third dimension is duality, where we're hot and cold, good and bad, right and wrong, dark and light, all of those things. There is an us and them experience in this world. And then we build on that, so we don't change. Like, we still walk down the street and I'm me and you're you, right, as we walk down the street. However, in that, when you move into the fifth dimension, when you move your consciousness into the fifth dimension, we both recognize ourselves as one. We recognize that what happens to me is also happening to you. And so we have this unified field and this connection and this is where, the darkness starts falling away, because the pain and suffering that people are experiencing and the trauma, they know when they're lashing out and when there's anger and there's frustration and they're putting that on other people. When you're in the fifth dimension, that doesn't happen. Well, if it does, you recognize that you're doing that to yourself. And so the more you suffer, the more you're suffering. Someone else is suffering, you're suffering as well, right? Because you see yourself as the collective, and you recognize yourself as more than just this body. So because of where we're moving, and as a planet, this is a new experience. This is something that as a planet we haven't been through. It's a big deal in the universe, by the way, in the cosmos, in the collective that's way beyond our universe, in the multi-cosmic field, because it's a rare occasion, like it's a birthing. And so as we do that, as with any birth, there is some bumps and trauma, like there's some pain that comes with that, right? As we earn our way into that next level. And through those traumas and pains, there is energies that are wanting to stay in the comfort of where we're at, just like that is in our body, right? So our unconscious doesn't want to change. So it will do everything it possibly can so that you are staying in the known, even when the known is painful. It wants to hold you there because it knows it's robotic. It's got it's a programmed system, right? It's looping. It's a looping system, and so it doesn't want to get out of that loop. And so when the same in the collective, as we move into a higher vibration, we move into a place where that frequency on a collective doesn't want us to change, right? Wants to stay in control of lower frequencies and hold us separate. And so through that process, we are seeing the birth of things like AI, where those things are really can as they birth, these benevolent energies can be move into a benevolent place where it's okay and it's neutral, or can be used for negative things, right? And that's one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of at the moment when you go and scroll on Facebook or Reels or what TikTok or whatever it is. When you're in those places, you will be seeing a lot of disinformation, information that is made up so that there is a creation of chaos in the world to hold us in those lower vibrations. So it's extremely important right now to be building a relationship with your higher self, with your intuition, so that you're staying focused here vertically, not horizontal, and seeing the things that are in our environment, and then they get us to react rather than respond. How do you do that? How do you build that relationship? You go back and watch some of my other videos. You'll hear things like really taking notice and trusting that first thought that comes into your head, because that very first knowing that you have is often the very first part of your intuition. It's your higher mind giving you inspired information, some wisdom, and within microseconds, your unconscious is coming in and sharing why you shouldn't do that, right? And giving you excuses, distracting you, hiding that information from you, whatever it might be. And so, these are the things that it's developing that intuitive muscle, so that you're listening to your heart, listening to your higher self, and building that relationship here first as the world changes, because this is the relationship that you can trust the most, but you've got to learn how to trust it first. If that's something that you're interested in, go and check out my website. There's links below. Check out some of the things. I've got different types of information on different platforms, depending on what platform it is. So go and check out all my socials and you'll get some, little tips and wisdom. And if you want, grab a call, and I've got a thing called a listening call, and we can have a chat and see where you're at and where you want to go and what's getting in the way. Take care. Enjoy your week, your day. I'll catch you tomorrow, and all the wonderful things.